Hey friends, how's everybody? Hopefully you guys are well, staying nourished, and just really taking good care of yourselves this week. I decided I was going to try out this new recipe today, this tikka masala. I don't know about you guys, but I love Indian food. And my fingers are currently burning, and so are my lips because I put so much spice into it and I was tasting it and chopping the peppers. So I'm a little on fire right now. Not gonna lie. But I wanted to talk a little bit about the things that we can control in our lives versus the things that we can't. So, with so much going on in our world right now, between the pandemic and just social issues, the election, there's just this swarm of things happening right now. So, one thing that has really been helping me, and this is something that I like to talk about in coaching as well, is really knowing the difference between what we can control and what we can't. So kind of I look at it like a coin. So on one side of the coin, we have all the things that we can control in our lives. We can control what time we wake up in the morning. We can control how we eat. We can control our spiritual practice and how much time we set aside and devote to things like prayer and meditation. We can control how much exercise we get in a week. We can control how we respond to certain situations, and we can control things like boundaries. Like, are we setting up healthy boundaries in our lives? And then on the flip side of the coin, there's the things that we absolutely have zero control over. So things like, a pandemic happening. We can obviously control, the way we respond to the pandemic and the things that we put in place to protect ourselves and our loved ones, but we can't control that actual event from happening. We can't control the results of an election. We can go vote, and there's things that we can control. We can control how much media we absorb and the things that we do to keep ourselves protected and healthy mentally right now. But we can't ultimately control, certain outcomes in life. We can't control when we get, bad news from a loved one, or tough news like one of our loved ones, have an illness. I got that news this week, and I started thinking about this again this week. It's something that I've used in my coaching practice and something that I've thought about at various points in my life, but I think I started thinking about it again this week because things started to seem a little bit out of control for me. So between getting some news from, a family member to, feeling the weight of the world in the energy, kind of the collective energy right now as an empath, things started to seem like they were getting a little bit out of control for me this week. So I had to really remember those two sides of the coin. So on one side being what we can control and the other side being what we cannot control. And on the can control side, it can be so helpful when we start devoting a lot of our energy towards making our mental health kind of top of the list of our priorities on the things that we can control. So setting up, measures in place to keep us healthy, not only from a physical and spiritual standpoint, but also from a mental standpoint as well. So some of the ways that I like to stay in control of my physical, mental, and spiritual health is doing things like, first thing in the morning, prayer, meditation, connecting to God's energy, connecting to God, and connecting to God's spirit to really allow myself to start the day from a very beautiful place energetically. And I also like to control what I'm eating right now. So I'm not going to lie, Lord knows, you can ask my fiance. There's times where I like to, use food as a vice, like kind of a way of coping through a lot of things. And I have my little treats for myself. I love pizza. It's definitely like one of my most favorite, kind of comfort foods. And so there's definitely times where I will give into that. But 80 to 90% of the time, I like to control, healthy eating. And because I know that food affects me emotionally and food affects my mood in a great way. So I can control what I'm putting into my body. And I like to definitely be conscious of that, especially during times like this. And I can control how much exercise I'm getting. So making sure I'm taking, the bike out in the morning, getting into the gym for at least 30 minutes because it elevates my mood so much during this time. So keeping in mind the things that we can control on that side of the coin. And then on the, other side of the coin, really just letting go, in a lot of ways of the things that we can't control. So when I'm getting bad news from a loved one, I want to immediately, as an empath, kind of take on the sadness, take on the sorrow. And there's nothing wrong with that, with being empathetic and, being there for someone, sending love to someone, sending prayers to your loved ones who might be going through a tough time. But when I take on that heavy energy and I sit there in like worry and anxiety and grief, it doesn't do anything good for me. It actually kind of pushes me into a very low functioning mood and can also start to cause some depression. So just wanted to share that with you guys. Being more self-aware, this is all a component of that. Being aware of what you can control, being aware of what you cannot control, and doing your best to really just let that go. Trust God. Don't let that really heavy energy consume you. So stay well, my loves, and I will talk to you soon. Mwah!